We were talking amongst the crew this morning about what day would be our first day for grafting queen cells. We originally thought it would be March 19th, and we put that on our calendar because the season had been running early. Usually we wait till maybe the 25th or 28th in our neighborhood to do that, but because the season was running early, we pushed it up. Well, now I feel like the season is actually backed up a little bit. We had some cool nights, and we're especially going to get some cold nights next week down into the low and mid 20-degree Fahrenheit range. So we got to be careful with this grafting date. It's a mistake that many people make. They see a few drones in their colonies and they think it's time to graft. So you'll read and you'll hear from others that once you have purple eye stage drone larvae, that they will be mature enough to mate if you want to graft at that time. So we got mass quantities of drone brood like this. Every colony's got this sort of thing going on. The problem is they're not purple eye stage yet. They're just not quite there. So for this reason, I'm going to push our grafting date back a week. When they're purple eye stage in the pupa stage, they're getting really close to hatching, and you need a drone that's 2 to 3 weeks old to be mature enough to mate properly. And yeah, we could graft next week and probably have a handful of drones out there and get some mating done. But I really like to wait till the conditions are really perfect. And so we're pushing our grafting date back a week, which will make it the 26th or something like that of March. We're going to kind of be back to what we would have originally thought would be the right date. Mother Nature's tricky. So right here we have a couple of drones hatching, and real close to it is some drone larva that's pretty mature. I know I spoke about it often in some of my other videos, but I thought I'd give another example of one way we use double screen boards. This colony is swarmed. We're going through this entire yard, and in general they're not swarming yet, but this one happens to have some queen cells. Now they do have drones. I think it's probably okay to split this colony. It's not too premature, and we're going to use a double screen board to do it. What I'm going to do is leave a frame of brood with a queen cell behind in the bottom, a frame with a queen cell in the top, and I'll put this entrance backwards here and give both halves a chance to mate. It's not rocket science, it's not hard to do. This does not have a cell, but it's a good frame to give the split upstairs. It's hatching or beginning to hatch. That's a good frame to split with. This frame has a swarm cell on it right here. There's two. One's finished, one is not. But anyway, I'm going to give that to the split. I know there's at least two frames here. I saw them with queen cells on them. There's one. It has two cells on it. I'm going to give this frame of food and bees to the top box, to the top split. I don't want to leave an excessive amount of queen cells. This frame has 4 queen cells on it. I'm just going to take two good looking queen cells and leave those behind and get rid of this one on this one. The reason for not leaving multiple queen cells is that it gives them an opportunity to create what we call an after swarm or a virgin queen swarm. Of course, that gives you the question, why would you leave 2 instead of just 1? Because you're not 100% guaranteed that every cell is good and is going to hatch. That's why I like to leave 2. And for some reason, when we only leave 2, even though they could have 2 queens, they tend to not do that after swarm thing. When you leave 3, 4, 5, 6, that's when you experience some of that. And we experience it mainly in spring, early spring. Later in spring, early summer, if they're swarming, they tend not to do that after swarm thing quite as much as they do in early spring. So we got 2 frames of brood in the bottom. There's 3 frames. This is a good hatching. This one's literally hatching right now, so I'm going to give this one to the top. That's a nice frame of brood. Leave that with the bottom. Another frame of brood and food. I'll leave that with the bottom. I'll fill it up with frames again. I'll tend to kind of hug towards the feeder with the brood and the bees because I am going to fill this inside feeder. So I'm just 1 frame away from the feeder. Whoop, I don't even need that frame. That frame needs to go up here. Feeder goes in. I'll fill the feeder. Even though I'm splitting it, I'm still going to give it probiotics. Both halves get probiotics. This top has some heavy food. I gave it to him. I'm not going to feed him at this time. You can see the entrance is in the back for the top, entrance in the front for the bottom, so they're opposing each other. And I'll just write CC and the date, and I know exactly what's in there. Cell on the bottom, cell on the top, and in 3 weeks we'll check this thing out. A good way to utilize double screen boards. If you have a colony that's swarmed, just split it. So this yard is full of overwintered nucs. We didn't have them in nuc boxes. They were just 3 or 4, perhaps 5 frames of bees going into winter, and they've made it through for the most part. And we have showed up with some jester nuc boxes, and we're actually going to harvest the nuc out of the singles because they're getting sold next weekend. We have a few hundred overwintered nucs being sold, and many of them overwintered in these single-story boxes. Actually kind of works because some of them are actually bigger than 5 frames now, and we can use that extra brood to boost the ones that are not quite 5 frames or to boost other colonies in a different area. So we're going to be going through this yard today harvesting 5-frame nucs, overwintered nucs. They would have been late summer queens, so they're pretty good queens at this point. I would call them tested queens because they've obviously proven that they're okay. That's one of the differences with the overwintered nuc as compared to a spring nuc. You know that this queen is in good shape and doing a good job. Of course, the spring nuc, the odds are in your favor. It's a brand new queen, but you still have a little higher chance of them kind of pooping out on you, something going wrong. Okay, this yard's full of overwintered nucs too. We did have quite a few overwintered nucs that overwintered in a single-story box, and most of this yard is overwintered nucs. We're here to harvest them also today. We brought home those overwintered nucs that we harvested yesterday. We still got some to go. We'll be doing some more tomorrow. And then this weekend on Saturday, March the 16th, these will be sold. That's our first nuke sales of the season. Our spring nukes won't start till sometime in April, so there is an advantage time-wise to these overwintered nukes. People can get them 3 weeks earlier than the spring nukes. So that's a pretty good deal. We charge an extra $15. Hey, Paul, open that lid again. Let me take a picture of that. So that's what these things look like bee-wise. They're in good shape. They've got 3.5 to 4 frames of brood. They're a little on the light side, so we're giving them a gallon bucket with lots of holes in the lid. There's a dozen 1/16 of an inch holes in those bucket lids, and so we're hoping that they'll take that down really well in the next 5 days. Let's pop this one open. That one's a little lighter in bees, but there's plenty in there. In some cases, we had so much hatching brood that we didn't try to put too many bees in there. We didn't want them to swell up too badly before Saturday when we're able to sell them. Let's see what the next one looks like.
Some of them are real strong.
Some of them are quite strong, yeah. That looks like a good one, yeah. They're in good shape. They were all doing really good. Let's pop one more and then I'll leave you alone. Yeah, these will be nice nukes. All right, looking good. So Katie and Selena and Jason are getting nukes ready for sale in the morning. The nukes have been sitting here in the jester boxes for about 5 days with a gallon bucket on them, just kind of giving them a little feed before we sell them. It's supposed to start raining here in an hour or two, so we're getting them closed up, got tape over the hole we were feeding through, and I think they'll be just fine sitting on the truck just like that overnight. The rain will keep them cool, and it's kind of cool anyway, cool and a little breezy, so we're getting it done early so we won't have to do all this in the rain in the morning. I'm standing on the driveway up to my house, and I'm looking at some forsythia that I planted a few years ago. I've got quite a bit of it on our property. It's right next to our cell building yard. And we have our breeder queens in there and stuff. But I just wanted to say a word about this forsythia. It's March 10th. It's a real early bloomer, and you'd think that it'd be wonderful for the bees. It blooms profusely, but the bees don't touch it. I've never seen a bee on it. So, one of those curiosities.